Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the pretty village of Horton in East Dorset. It's about 6 miles west of Ringwood and 14 miles east of Blandford Forum. And we're going to be walking roughly a 6-mile circular route. We'll have a quick look through the village before heading south to see a very iconic Folly. We'll be passing through Ferndown Forest, past a lake, and we'll hope to see the location of Monmouth's Ash. More of that later. We'll be passing through a pretty golf course and hopefully going to see some quite stunning countryside scenery along the way. Now I'm filming right at the beginning of March. It's quite a cold day, 4 or 5 degrees, so Logan's still got his fleece on at the moment. Well, there's a bit of cloud about. It is supposed to brighten up later on, which I hope will happen, otherwise this might be quite a dark video. Should be perfect conditions for walking. Do come along with us. Well, I've parked my car at a lay-by next to the village hall. There's also parking next to the church. And we'll start off by having a look at a few things in the village first. Well, there was once an abbey in Horton, and its location actually shows on a 1901 map. A monastery was founded in 970 AD, although I have seen sources say 961, by Ordgar, Earl of Devon, or possibly his son Ordulf, and it became Benedictine in 1050. It was dedicated to St. Wolfrida, its first abbess. In 1122 it was reduced to priory status by the Bishop of Salisbury, and it was made dependent on Sherborne Abbey, and there were probably only 3 or 4 monks here after that. But after the dissolution of monasteries, it was all given to Edward Seymour, the first Duke of Somerset, and there's nothing left of the abbey today. But the church is still here, the Church of Wolfrida, and originally there would have been a church here that was part of the abbey. Possibly around about 1400 a church was then built on the foundations of the chancel and nave of that abbey church. By 1722 it was in a ruinous condition, so it was rebuilt in a neoclassical Georgian style. The north transept was added in 1755 to create this unusual L shape. So it consists of a nave, chancel, north transept and tower. I think it's got 1 bell. There was a big restoration in 1869 and again in 1900 when the clock was placed in the tower. Right, in we go. I'm guessing this is where the font used to be. A beautiful curtain separating the entrance and porch from the rest of the church. Wow. It's certainly got that L-shaped feature to it. It is dark. I have found some light switches, but not the main ones. Usual story, I'll probably have to put some photos up. Rather magnificent font here on my right. Pulpit on the right. Wow. Rather magnificent organ. And what about this just above the altar? That really is quite smashing, isn't it? Quite a pretty little church. Well, there are certainly some pretty houses throughout the village. And this one in front of me here, the old schoolhouse. Oh, what a delightful village pump. Cast iron. It was erected in 1901. There's quite a few wells and springs around here. Right, we're going to follow the footpath ahead, heading south to our next destination, which you can just see on the horizon there, Horton Tower. And just to the south of the church is the Abbey house, which is the surviving remnants of a large mansion house that was built on the site in 1718 that in turn did incorporate some of the old Abbey buildings. That manor house was pulled down when the lord of the manor decided to use Critchell House as his base, which is to the west of here, and I think the stables were converted to be habitable, and I think it was once the vicarage between 1920 and 1961, not 100% sure. Well, the name Horton derives from, well, Old English horu for dirt and ton for farm or settlement. So presumably that means farm on muddy soil. It doesn't look too bad at the moment. Fingers crossed we're going to be okay, because we've not had that much rain this winter, all told. Well, just before we have a look at the tower, standing on the top of this ridge, looking at the view to the north. So it is a bit of a dull day, but hopefully this is coming across well on the camera. And I hope the audio is okay, because it is quite windy up here as well. What a beautiful fresh day. And this is Horton Tower, also known as Sturt's Folly, built, well, either 1700, 1726, most likely, 1742 or 1750. Depends on what source you look at. And Lord Humphrey Sturt, who owned the manor here, built it. He was MP for Dorset between 1754 and 1786. And it's a triangular brick building, 140 foot high, 6 stories, and it originally had a cupola on the top. They think he built it as a lookout for watching hunting. At the time that it was built, it was the tallest non-religious building in England. Originally it had floors on each level, but they collapsed and it became a grain store, and it's now used as a telecommunications tower or mast, which helps fund its upkeep. And it also featured in the 1967 film Far from the Madding Crowd, based on Thomas Hardy's novel. I think it was used in a scene for cockfighting. Well, a quick update on the route. We've said goodbye to the Horton Tower, and we're now going to start heading eastwards, going through Ferndown Forest, which is owned and managed by the Forestry Commission, or Forestry England as they're called these days. Well, spring is just round the corner. I think this is my first sighting of lambs this year, and these little cuties just enjoying the morning sunshine. They're lovely. A lovely day for a ride. I'll tell you, now the sun has come out, it really is quite beautiful in this forest, really quite spring-like. Look, just over here, the catkins just starting to come out. Well, this certainly is a working forest. Quite a few of the trees, conifers have been cut here, and they are stacked on the ground side by side awaiting collection. It's always sad to see when trees get cut down, but at the end of the day they are a crop, and so it's all part and parcel of as I say, a working forest. I'm just about halfway through the forest and come across this quite magnificent lake. It's about as near as I'm going to get to it because it's fenced off. I think it's on private land, but I think it's called Whippet Lake. And it doesn't show on a 1901 map or even a 1961 map, so it's fairly modern. I imagine it must be a fishing lake. Well, that really was a lovely section of woodland. We've come out of Ferndown Forest now and heading northwards, and we've just had to go along a B road for a little bit, about 150 yards or so. So if you're doing that walk, take care, because there's no footpath as such alongside there. Get to Hart Bridge and then, as I said, head northwards to our next destination. We're going to see if we can find Monmouth's Ash. Whew. Just an uphill bit along the side of a knoll called Knob's Crook, one of those quaint Dorset names. Now, Monmouth's Ash. I'm going to have a little bit of a challenge here, folks, because what I want to show you is directly looking south, and it'll be looking directly into the sun, and of course this time of year it really is going to be tricky, but we'll see how we go. So looking to the south, Monmouth's Ash. Well, the Monmouth Rebellion occurred when James Scott, the first Duke of Monmouth, landed with 3 ships of his followers at Lyme Regis. He was the illegitimate son of King Charles II by one of his mistresses, Lucy Walter. He intended to claim his right to the throne, but he had to overthrow his uncle, King James II, and he was unsuccessful, beaten at the Battle of Sedgemoor in 1685, and he managed to escape initially to Woodyates, which is just north of here, on his way to try and get on a ship at Poole. Anyway, disguised as a lowly shepherd, he and 2 others fled here on horseback, but when their horses were tired, they had to continue on foot. Eventually, the Duke hid in a ditch here under a large ash tree in a field of beans. The ditch was an old boundary marker between the parishes of Horton and Woodlands, and he was spotted by either a local, there was a bounty of £5,000 on his head, or a chasing soldier in a ditch not far from here, and he was captured. And the Duke was taken initially to Ringwood, then London, where he was executed. Well, the original ash is long gone, but there is at least one replacement. I mean, ash trees usually only get to live for about 400 years or so. But the ditch certainly is here. Okay folks, another little pit stop just to update on the route. That's a little sort of wooded area that we've come out of, and we're at a place called David's Cross, which is a sort of junction of 6 paths. And I think we head in that direction there. At least I hope so. We're heading westwards now towards Woodlands Park. I've just come across this lake. Well, it's probably just a disused pit by the looks of things that's now full of water. It doesn't look very inviting, and I don't think today would be a good day for a dog dip, do you? No, he says. Well, the sun really has come out now. It's quite glorious. So we're now going through the Remedy Oak golf course, which is fairly new. I think it was constructed in 2006. The Remedy Oak is actually a tree to the north of here, and I did stop off on the way to the start of the walk to have a look at it and did some filming. So I'll show you that footage now. Well, just to the north of Horton, at the junction of the B3081, is the Remedy Oak, which is just in front of me here. And legend has it that this is where a young Edward VI sat and touched sick people with the King's Evil, which was basically a medical term that meant he could heal them with the power of touch. Now, there's no historical evidence, though, although King Edward VI did stay at Woodlands Manor, not far from here, in 1552. A plaque was put here in front of the tree in the 1970s. I think it was a lot bigger then. It might have got its name from the Remedy Gate, which shows on a 1901 map which once crossed the road. It predated both the Oak and Edward VI, and it might have been linked with a deer park here and was situated at a point where 4 or 5 roads converge. But as you can see, it's seen better days, really hollowed out now and being held up by metal wire. Lovely to see the snowdrops by it, though. Well, I tell you, as golf courses go, this really is quite a beautiful one. It's lovely the way it's been set out and designed, and so peaceful. I mean, I'm filming, Thursday afternoon, and nobody to be seen. Well, I have seen a couple of golfers out, so it is open. Well, just on the edge of the golf course is the Remedy Oak Brewing Company, which was established in 2018 in a sort of redeveloped barn in the actual grounds of the golf club. Sadly, we haven't got time to investigate further, because we're going to end up, hopefully, at the Horton Inn. Well, another gorgeous lake in front of me, and just beyond there is Woodlands Manor. Now, Woodlands to the north was once part of the Shaftesbury estate, whose family seat, of course, is at St Giles House at Wimborne St Giles. But the farm here, just behind the wall there, is 18th century, but it's got 16th century origins. Indeed, if you look at a 1901 map, there was once a chapel and a hall here. Well, we're very much on the homeward leg now, passing through the little settlement of Haythorne, and that'll drop us down into Horton. And what we'll then do is pop into the car and drive out to the Horton Inn for some light refreshment. Fingers crossed that it's still open, of course. Well, folks, we've reached our final destination, the Horton Inn, which is actually just outside of the village on the old Poole to Salisbury Turnpike Road. We hope you enjoyed the walk. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. What a super way to end, with a pint of 49er. Very good it is too. Logan's having a snooze now. In 8 days' time, he's at Crufts. So, well, by the time this film comes out, he'll have performed. So until we meet again, thanks for watching and cheerio. Right, fella, it's crisp time.